Well, hi once again, and welcome to another edition of In Conversation. I'm David Paulson here at the Claresholm Public Library. Of course, In Conversation is our series of chats with interesting people in and around our community who have great stories to tell. And today, I'm very excited because my guest today is our mayor, Chelsae Petrovic. Her worship is with us today. And first of all, thank you so much for taking the time, because I know you are just a little busy, so
Thanks
it's great
for
to have you.
having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So let me get that out of the way first of all. How would you like me to address you during this interview? Because, you know, her worship, your worship, that sounds kind of bulky. Well, can I just call you Ms. Petrovic or your...
Chelsae.
Chelsea's good?
Chelsae is absolutely, the title is something I'm not quite used to, and I don't know if it's one I want to get used to. So Chelsae is absolutely wonderful.
Chelsae it is. I was at a rodeo and I introduced the mayor of a community as his mayorship. I'm pretty sure that's wrong, but he was very kind about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start first of all, and with a little bit of your background. How long have you been in Claresholm? Are you Claresholm born and raised? How did that come about?
I don't like to tell anyone where I was born because it takes a notch off me, but I'm actually originally from Toronto, Ontario, the center of the world.
No problem.
We moved here when I was a small child, about 2 years old, and I've been here ever since. I left to go to university college and university for a few years, and then we came back to raise our family. So I've been here for about 30 years or so.
So it was your family who chose Claresholm, and
my mom
years old.
Yeah, my mom and dad, they chose Claresholm. I'm not sure why you go from Toronto to Claresholm. It seems that
is a big change.
Big change for them, and we've pretty much been here ever since. My husband is born and raised here as well, and this is just a place we wanted to raise our family, so we came back.
Well, now, you first kind of came to notoriety, at least for me, when you became the Citizen of the Year in Claresholm, and I know that was a huge honor for you. But that honor is bestowed on someone for their various involvement in the community and for the betterment of the community. Can you talk about some of the things that you've been involved with in the past?
Yes, so the Citizen of the Year, that's one I'll never live down, because I almost don't feel as if I deserve it. It's because of the people I surround myself with. I'm really good at delegating tasks to people. So first and foremost, I'm a really good delegator when it comes to things like that. But a few of the programs and committees that I've sat on I sat on the Claresholm Child Care Society for quite a significant amount of time. I was part of the group that wrote the grant that allowed them to build their new daycare. So that was just huge, and we've done lots of accomplishments with that board. I also sat on the Claresholm Learn a Lot Play School board for a few years when my daughter was in play school, and we did some pretty amazing things on that board. And then I took over as director of my city care, and that's near and dear to my heart. So it's a not-for-profit program that we have here in Claresholm, and it focuses on youth achievement. So we have our Shop of Wonders, which is a program where parents are allowed to come and shop for free for new toys. So they get to pick out stocking stuffers, small item gifts, medium-sized gifts, and large-sized gifts. And it's just like a Christmas wonderland in that way. There's no child in Claresholm that's left, without opening something on Christmas morning. Then we focus in on our our Cinderella project, which is we provide tuxedos, grad dresses, hair, makeup, everything that a graduate would need in order to participate in those events. And we're trying to focus in on prom as well. That way it's an opportunity for everyone. And then we work alongside Cadets and FCSS, and we do the backpack program. So we set up our shop once again as a Staples type area, and the kids get to come in and shop for whatever they need for back to school, whether it's a pink ruler or a blue ruler, stuff that maybe doesn't matter to us, but to them does. So it's pretty cool. During COVID, we applied for a grant. I did it as a joke, which I shouldn't admit that I did it for a joke, but to feed people amongst our community for emergency food hampers, whether they were unable to leave their homes, too afraid to leave their homes, they were on quarantine, whatever it was that they might need. We wanted to be able to provide healthy food hampers, everything that you and I would go and get at the grocery store. Meat, cheeses, breads, eggs, all of the food groups. And the government awarded us $12,000 over our asking price, which was pretty cool. Later on, I joked, we need to do this again. I should apply for another grant. Well, the government decided just to give us $16,000 again to continue it on without asking for it. So we have some pretty cool stuff. We fed about between 15 to 20,000 meals were handed out in our community in an 18-month span. So that's my city care is pretty near and dear to my heart. So.
Well, I would think all of those things
Yeah.
that you talked about were what led to your becoming Citizen of the Year.
I guess so. I don't like the title. It almost takes away from what we do. I don't do it for any recognition.
No,
I do
of
it
course
mostly
not.
just for the benefit of the community.
And
yeah.
you certainly have done that. But you and I talked off camera a problem, because now you are the mayor and you are the Citizen of the Year.
Yes.
How are you going to fit into the parade in two separate locations at the same time?
Yes.
It's going to be tough.
Thank you, Alec Harrison, for bringing that major problem to the community's attention. Maybe I'll skip the parade altogether.
No,
we won't have to worry about it.
No, you cannot do that. No, we'll figure out a way. We'll get it handled.
Cardboard cutouts, two
Yes.
cars, two parades.
I know.
I'm not sure. That's something you and Alex, since he discovered the problem, that's
Alec and I
something-
will talk about that.
Yeah, you guys can find a solution.
We'll figure out a way. So let's talk then about when did the idea of running for office kind of come to you, and why?
So many people ask me this question. And it's a hard one to answer. At first, I said to my husband, I'm gonna run for councillor, and he said, why? Why? For what reason? To help better the community. I had all sorts of reasons. To be busier. I had all sorts of ideas, and he said, run for mayor. He said, you have a pretty good idea of what this community is, what this community needs. You're in touch with all sorts of individuals, socioeconomic individuals. You have the healthcare background. Like, you see problems from a whole different perspective. Run for mayor. So I laughed and said, well, whatever. And next thing you know, my signature was at the bottom of the nomination page, and off we went. So it was sort of surreal looking back, where I don't know how it came to be or what. It just started lots of conversations within our household, and yeah, I won. Now you guys are stuck with me for the next 4 years, and it's been pretty cool.
It has, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the biggest challenge, especially coming from? You didn't come from a councillor position previous.
No.
You moved right into the mayor's chair. What would have been the biggest challenge that you faced so far, would you say?
My wardrobe. No. I'm used to wearing pajama pants and messy buns to work every day, so to have to put on regular people clothes and brush my hair has been my biggest challenge. No. It's not necessary that it's been so much as a challenge. It's been, with all of the board experience and running organizations and learning how to delegate and working as a team, it's just been sort of learning policies, procedures a little bit. There's little bits here and there. It was almost disappointing to see how little was expected of me.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I've made a commitment to meet with every user group and organization within our community, to have a full understanding of what our community about, what each user group does, to meet with all of the leaders of our community, and have them inspire me and me inspire them back. I'm shocked that it hasn't been done previous, that you sort of have your thing, you sign your policy, you kind of I just thought there was going to be so much more to it, so you can make as much out of it as you want or as little out of it as you want. And I was just sort of shocked by how little you could possibly make out of it if you chose. So that was sort of balancing of what is expected, what would I like to do, is everyone okay with changes that need to be made, and sort of collaborating and doing it just a little bit different than it's been done before. So I think that's my biggest challenge that I've had so far, is change.
Now, is there a particular vision, a particular set of goals that you have to moving forward while you're in office?
Yeah, so I don't think that there's going to be any, grand buildings or grand this or grand any, I don't think there's going to be lots of grand physical things that are going to happen in my 4 years of term. I think my focus and my hope is to build a really strong foundation. With our community user groups, our boards and committees that run each organization. The Claresholm Library has a board, Childcare Society. the Ag Society, all these different societies, are leaders in their own way, and I really want to build that connection with them and build that strong foundation, and allow each of them to grow and inspire. Then I would really like to see growth within our community, economic growth, and I think to set the groundwork going forward, to build that. We're losing nurses and doctors, we're losing people to other cities because, one, there's not a lot of places to live within our community, and two, there's not a lot of places for individuals to work. If you are, some of our major employers are IGA, Alberta Health Services, Watt & Stewart, and Al Molino. There's not a lot of growth and not a lot of opportunity within our community, so I would like to bring our husbands and our sons home where they don't have to go away to work, bring in affordable housing and all sorts of housing to our community for every socioeconomic, for all socioeconomic. I'm really screwing this one up. That's where you can edit that out. So that way, all sorts of people can have a place to live, have a job. We don't have to send people away. We don't just, it'll fit. I don't know how to word it. I don't know how to say it. Every sort of type, every individual, whether they're rich, poor, middle class, educated, uneducated, there will be a place for them in Claresholm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with that, then we've come through, or we're coming through, what have been difficult times, not just in Claresholm, but obviously pretty much worldwide. Mm-hmm. When we talk about COVID and we talk about the divisions that exist and those almost battle lines that have been drawn between people of one stripe versus the other, and there's so much divisiveness going on in our society. Are you optimistic in terms of, as mayor of this community, both for Claresholm, but even beyond Claresholm, for the future?
I hope so. I think that's one of my biggest focuses is I've seen the division between people, whether it's unvaxxed versus vaxxed, unmasked versus masked, right wing versus left wing. We've created such a divide amongst communities, whether it's a political divide, health choice divide. There's a huge gap, like you said, and I'm hoping as a leader and to inspire leaders to have people to be, quick to listen and slow to respond. It's not right versus left. It's not whether this person's right or this person's right. Usually it's somewhere in between. And if we were to focus more on understanding one another, we would have a lot less, butting heads. We'd have a lot less division. And I'm hopeful as a leader, myself as the leader, I can inspire others to have, to break that divide, to start bringing people back together. And my hope is that once we can inspire Claresholm to, come together and have great community spirit and lessen the divide and focus and understand, we'll start to inspire everyone else around us, other communities, and then maybe it can grow from there. It's very optimistic, my thinking in these days, but I am hopeful for it.
Well, I think that's where we have to be, don't we? I mean, if we're not hopeful and optimistic, the other option is not very good, I don't think. So it's great to hear you say that. Yeah,
I would like other communities to look at Claresholm not just as a economic forefront or housing forefront or anything. I would like everyone to look at Claresholm to be like, look at their community pride, look at how wonderful each individual is to each other. If you broke your leg, your neighbors are out on your front sidewalk shoveling your snow, and just to see the community come together, I think that's more important than any of those other things. Those other things, once we all come together as a community, they'll follow. We will have economic growth. We will have housing needs assessments for all. We will succeed in all other areas as long as we can bridge that divide and learn to live with one another and do it kindly.
I think that's a great way to leave off, and again I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, and I hope that we can overcome that biggest problem of how are we going to solve your being in the parade in two places at once.
Yes.
I know that's going to be a tough one.
The biggest concern that our town has right now is how I'll have to have a counselor sit in for me possibly in one of those seats.
Don't you wish though that that was the only, that was the
know.
biggest problem
I-
that we had? I mean, that would be kind of a fun community to live in if that was the case.
It would, but I'm sure, you know, with Alec on board, he'll find some creative way to get everyone to have a good laugh over it.
We'll
so
figure it out. We'll
that's a
figure it out.
challenge to Alec. I'd
Yes.
like to see what he comes up with.
Well, thank you so much to Mayor Petrovic for being with us today on this edition of In Conversation. I'm David Paulson, reminding you that this conversation and a whole bunch more just like it can be found on our YouTube channel at the Claresholm Public Library. So thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you next time on In Conversation.